What's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Breakdown the Fight. I'm your host, Henry Cejudo, a.k.a. Triple C, and we have a special guest today, none other than the bad guy, Uncle Chael Sonnen. And today we're breaking down Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev. Chael, what can I tell you about this fight? To me, this is a fight it's base versus a mixed martial arts. When I talk about base, I'm talking about somebody that is very, very strong in that one particular area. In other words, a Khabib, somebody who can take you down and ground upon you and suffocate you, and college-style wrestling where he's going to make you work, grind you out to pretty much put you away. This fight with him and Charles Oliveira, obviously Charles Oliveira is no slouch being on bottom, right? Triangles, we saw what he did to Justin Gaethje. Yes. We saw he has the most submissions in UFC history. How do you see this fight taking place?
Charles Oliveira will also strike you from the bottom. That's the thing that makes a difference. When he throws a triangle, much like Tony Ferguson, he will then come up with the elbow. So I only share that because that is a little bit different. Your posture of what you have to do if you're going to be on top of him is different. Now, I can tell you what I think about this fight, but how about I tell you what they think about this fight? Because Islam believes, to the point you just made, that he can get on top whenever he wants to, and he can stay on top as long as he wants. If he's right, great. He's going to go a decision, most likely. It's going to open a lot of our eyes. It's going to be an epic moment if he's right. Now, Charles Oliveira is coming from a very different standpoint, saying, first off, you don't know how good I am. And there is something that Charles showed, I must give him credit, and it was the fight with Tony Ferguson, which is takedowns. I've never seen him do that before. He hit 3 double leg takedowns. Tony Ferguson is a lifelong wrestler to the point that he's got a USA Wrestling emblem tattooed on himself. Oliveira got every takedown. I've never seen him use control like that. It's not going to be about getting Islam down, Henry. You and I are in full agreements. Can Charles stop the takedown? And he's not even talking about it. He's talking about, I'll start this fight on my back. My jiu-jitsu is so good. Like, well, let me stop you right there. You're extremely unlikely at this level to get a submission. Just to share with you, you have not been submitting guys from your back that aren't as talented on top as Islam. So if you buy into that theory, if Charles is telling us the truth, Charles has a problem. He must have position. They are more likely than not to go to a decision than any other feasible outcome. And he's not going to be gaining favor if he's doing it from his back. And I think it's relevant because if I heard from Charles Oliveira, look, I brought in Jordan Burroughs, I got Henry Cejudo helping me, my takedown defense is going to be on point. If I was hearing that, I'd feel pretty good. If he was saying, I'm starting every practice on bottom, but I'm scrambling, I'm getting up, and I've got some new wall walks up the fence so we can stand up and get away. Great, but he's not talking about that, and I don't think he's playing gamesmanship. I believe he truly believes that his jiu-jitsu is going to find him a submission over the course of the evening. I don't like that strategy.
And obviously watching his brother grow and Khabib and watching his success, I hear from a lot of people that Islam he's almost a better version of what Khabib is.
I hear that, which is blasphemy, but I do hear it.
Better on the feet,
yes.
Just as good on bottom,
yes.
Very
Henry,
disciplined.
by the way, we hear this from Khabib. Khabib is the one saying, this is the guy. I mean, that's compelling. When you have the king coming back and saying, this is the heir apparent to my throne, oh, by the way, I taught him everything he knows, it's compelling as hell.
But now let me kind of twist it here. Let's say for whatever reason, Charles Oliveira does defeat Islam. Will that bring back Khabib?
Right. So, no is the final answer. However, Khabib had slipped up one day, whether he slipped up or it just came out. But when Khabib says something, you can count on it. So if he says it, even if he didn't mean to, he'll do it. And what it had to do with Conor McGregor, he wanted Conor versus Islam. And to sweeten the pot, he said, Conor, if you beat Islam, I will come back to fight you. And he would have done it. Now, I only bring that to you because the negotiation then moves over to Charles Oliveira about 2 months later, and Charles didn't make that a caveat. And it's like, Charles, I don't think you're following. You could have lured Khabib out here. So I'll just share for the audience that no, that's not part of the deal, but I think it could have. I think it could have got him to agree on that.
But you know what, Chael? It's not too late. It's not too late because I haven't fought yet.
Why not try?
And if you're able to build that storyline, there's one thing that I learned about you, Uncle Chael. If you're able to build that storyline, then there's such a great story that needs to be told.
Henry, they would put that on SportsCenter. If Khabib came out and said, I'm going to sweep, I'm so sure in my guy. Jake Paul made SportsCenter because he tried to bet Eddie Hearn $500,000, right? If Khabib made the same bet, but it was for his return, I'm telling you, I mean, to your point of a storyline, I agree with you, and it would be great. By the way, there's a built-in narrative to this story that if they're on their feet, it favors Charles. Now, I haven't seen enough from Islam to counter that, but I've heard. I hear about the practice rooms. I hear from the Javier Mendezes and the Daniel Cormiers who are not out trying to hype a guy. They're answering questions that are asked of him where they do see him on their feet. And we do have a history in this sport when we don't see a guy there ourselves. We tend to then just assume he can't do it. I remember when they did the George St. Pierre. George can't take you down. You're going to lose. And then George ran into a fight. He couldn't take the guy down, Matt Hughes. So he just kicked him in the head and knocked him out. So what I'm sharing, we don't know how good a guy is, right? We don't know because if he doesn't have to be there, then he's not there.
Charles Oliveira does have more weapons. The other thing that I do want to say,
that we've seen.
What if Charles takes him down?
Sure.
How was Islam off of his back?
Yeah.
I mean, these are things that we're going to have to take into consideration because.
Now that's fascinating. By the way, I would love that.
He took down Michael Chandler. He took down, which is a wrestler, an All-American. He took down Tony Ferguson, which is another All-American. And it's like, hey, when's enough? But still, man, I don't know. I just think the simple fact that Islam's base is that strong, and if it is true, from what I'm hearing it from Khabib's mouth, which I'm, super good friends with, man, I think I think either way, whether he wins or he loses, I think it's a great storyline for potentially Khabib to maybe come back.
And see, I'm with you on that storyline. We are going to see something different here. And whether it's Islam on his back, or it's going to be Oliveira in the 5th round, or we're going to see trading with strikes on their feet. Like, if Oliveira is going to have any chance, we have to see something different from Islam. And I just think that alone is fascinating. Everybody, you got to start with the blueprint so you can start to figure out how to deal with him. And Islam's blueprint is still being written. So, I mean, I agree with you. I don't know. Oliveira is very upset about the fight. He's upset about the location of the fight, which I like. And angry Oliveira is a very dangerous guy, and it's hard to get him angry. He's angry about the location. He thinks, the fix will be in with the judges. He's a 3-1 underdog, which you, the audience, did. I mean, that's just based on the number. He thinks that you were disrespected. They took his damn belt away. By the way, which I'm not positive there was authority to do. That's a whole other conversation. But he's upset right now. An upset world champion? That's a problem, Henry.
No, it is. And it gives you a chip. It gives somebody a chip on their shoulders. And when somebody has a chip on their shoulders, when they're that good and they have the belt, man, they become extra dangerous.
Sure.
Last thing, Uncle Chael, what is your predictions on this fight? If you do want to make a prediction.
Let me hedge only with one thing. Charles Oliveira is a lot better than I thought he was. And I thought he was the best in the world. However, I also thought he was there with an asterisk because Khabib wasn't. It was the night that he fought Gaethje. That's when I saw you. I knew you were good. You're better than I knew you were. So I must give that to Charles. It's just we've been setting this octagon up since 1993. The strategies that worked then do not work today, with one exception, which is if you take a guy down and bludgeon him, you win the fight. That happens to be what Islam does well. I'm taking Makhachev.
Oh, Uncle Chael, you make it super easy for me. I'm actually going to have to agree with you once again. I think the base that he brings, I think the fact that he hasn't taken that punishment like Oliveira, even though as good as he is, he's been touching that chin a little too much, in my opinion. And I've seen that. There's been times, even with that Michael Chandler fight, where I saw a little bit of break when Michael Chandler hurt him. I could see the demeanor and his face change. And when I see things like that, I don't know. As good as he is, as good as he's been stopping people, that stuff scares me.
Sure.
So I'm going to have to agree with you. I'm going to have to go Islam too. So again, guys, thank you guys for watching. Breaking down the fight. I'm your host, Henry Cejudo. Thank you, Uncle Chael. And we are out! So thank you guys again for watching. It means a lot to me. So you guys remember, there's more breakdowns, there's more technique, there's more tactics, and there's definitely more cringe. So make sure to subscribe and click on that button. I'm out!